So we're doing a review here of a teaching game. So to recap, we have the sides A, B, C, and D. A and B are the widest. B is also a shared side. We share a stone on that side, whereas the A side is white side. So for that reason, also I would encourage just making a move on the B side. Now we can choose one way would be to approach on this side. That's the most active way. The most traditional way is to enclose our corner on the B side. Now, playing on the A side as you did in the game is not a bad move. However, we're not sure who's going to get to play along the lower side, either to approach at A or B, or for you to get the approach at C. So I'm choosing a pattern that's going to end with my sente, and I get the approach here, and you're denied an enclosure. Furthermore, if you get the enclosure ever at A, or in that area, the extension, the natural extension of that enclosure is really blocked because this shape of F17 and D17 in the corner is so strong and so solid that you can't really develop a large framework in the face of that. A teacher of mine said it juts out like a sword, and so you can't run into the sword. That metaphor helps at all. Do you have any questions so far? Please type a question if you have one. So, yeah, that's why an enclosure here is not as valuable. So here you play a calm move, which is fine, and I play a calm move. Now we can see that I get the approach here. Now, it's pretty good because your shape is kind of flat for me. No, R10 is the correct shape move. That's fine. No mistake. But see, now if I had my way, I would really prefer to have a 4-4 stone instead of the 3-4 stone. Okay, so I approach here, and okay, you make this move. This move really isn't a joseki. Let's talk about why. First of all, if I play this attachment, you played hane, which is not really a desirable move. It leaves you with a shape that can't really be fixed. If you play extension here, it also feels like maybe this is the best you can do. And the problem is, again, that this wall, you paid a lot of price. You paid at least 10 points in the corner. And again, like I said, that F17 stone prevents anything from becoming too big here. I can always shoulder hit this, and it's not like you can develop a lot there. So this move here really isn't a joseki move. This is a move if you're thinking in that direction, but that would also be developing the top side. This is also a move. This knight's move kind of on the 5th line is not a proper move. Another reason is I was just thinking about pushing straight through here. It's kind of painful. You know, you can be cut even if you draw back. There's cutting points. This just isn't a correct shape move. This P15 is not a good move. Something else you could consider, I don't normally like the diagonal attachment. You get a pretty low shape, but here at least you can keep me slightly concentrated, and you can also look at attacking. You're attacking the 3 stones maybe in the future. It at least makes good use of the R10 stone. However, it does make me solid, and but it does take sente. So in this case, maybe the diagonal attachment is fine. Okay, you played hane. I thought about pushing through, but figured I'd go with this shape. Yeah, so the problem here is that I have this kind of move here that can expose some weakness in your shape. So I have moves like this in the area, or even like this. So you don't really have much of a wall here because not only can I shoulder hit, I have additional forcing moves in this area. So furthermore, you kind of have this low positioned wall that it's just a kind of awkward shape here. So that's why I think the P15 move is not the right shape. Okay, I settle my group with the intention of later attacking. You approach, that's a good move. Now let's talk here. This slide is not really the right shape, at least not because after I defend, you really are inclined to have to add another move. And because I'm sure at 6Q you know the Joseki that belongs here with the 2-space extension. But with the 3-space extension, you have an invasion point that's pretty problematic. So now that you have an invasion point, really you have to jump. Now, had you jumped, I would say that the slide is okay. The B4 slide is acceptable. But I still am not so convinced about the position on the left side. There still is invasion points that white can aim at. And of course there's capping moves. So there's plenty of ways for white to deal with this area. So I don't think it's going to amount to too terribly much. And so exchanging all this for the white corner move at C3 is probably a better exchange for white. So what I would prefer to do is jump directly. And now white has to figure out what to do. White is going to, if white jumps like this, well, you're okay with that because now you have Sente. If I am playing, I'm probably going to start maybe testing you here. Okay. Now, with the slide and the exchange, you really feel like you need to jump here, or this move is a little flat and soft, but it fixes all your weakness. Now, you played this move. Now, this move is really soft because it fixes your shape, but it doesn't affect any of white's groups. So that's problematic. The other thing is it makes a flat shape along the third line. So if you're thinking about that area, we'd probably try to be a little more greedy with it. We also, if we're thinking about being active, can think about probing white here. Of course, there later can be invasions at this point or this point. There's even different techniques of attaching here. So much later in the game, we can decide how we want to invade the lower side. So we can probe at the 3-space extension right away. But really, it's more urgent to fix our weakness. The move on the top side is just slow because it doesn't actively address white's groups, it doesn't change the status of white's groups, and it doesn't fix your real weakness on the left side. So I jump in right away. I could miss this opportunity, so I have to jump in right away. I'm going pretty quick. Are there any questions? Okay. Now you could attach. It's a little painful to attach and give a ponuki, but at least you can connect everything. But white gets Sente and he gets the thick shape in the middle. Now white's going to attack here, and really white will have nothing to worry about. He has no weak groups, so he can fight aggressively. He has strength in the center locally. So it's still a good game for white. So how to handle this invasion means that it's probably going to be good for white. So white cuts here. And this is just a little too good for white. I was expecting you to do this. But of course now we're dealing with a black wall that has some imperfections. So you decided to fix, which is a good instinct. However, white has this capture which is worth at least 15 to 18 points because the difference is that white takes the entire left-hand corner versus black has a stone down at b4 and can make in-game moves in the area. So it's pretty big. First I'm going to push here to see how that affects your shape. If you had answered like this, now your wall is pretty uncuttable, so I'd go ahead and take the territory. And I think white has a really decent amount of territory. And now you can see why that invasion is so painful, because was it worth it to play n17 but to lose the whole left side? That was the result of turning our eyes away and not defending that invasion. So n17 was not worth losing all this. Okay, so here I think you make a series of cascading mistakes of trying to get some center influence and to fix your problems. I really like that you're thinking in a different direction on how to kind of ignore white's moves and seek to fix your problems. It's a good instinct, but here it just exposes more problems. You kind of create more issues for yourself. So now we can't sustain the cut. Okay, because here we have just too many issues to deal with. Now you're dealing with a lot of, You're dealing with a cut there, and you're dealing with a cut here, and white only has to be successful in one of those cuts. So here, if I can make both live like in the game, that's great. But even if I just can cut here and make a really severe attack on your A group, I can benefit, because I can probably solidify my lower side territory while attacking through the center of the board. So here is maybe the game-losing mistake. We can't turn our eyes away from the group. I know that maybe you're thinking it's a leaning attack. You're trying to kind of seal off as many ways through the center as possible so that my G10 stone, E10 stone is a weaker group. But right now, there's a saying that a weak group in between two other weak groups is a strong group. What that means is my group at A is my weak group, but it's between two of your weak groups. So because of that, the group at A is a strong group, because I can fight to the upper side or I can fight to the lower side and keep my group in motion. And also, since I only have one group on the whole board that's weak, and you have two, I'll always kind of be a step ahead of you, and I'll get to play. So this sequence, I'm going to do one Hane to create some weakness, and I'm going to leave it. The reason I do one Hane is I can now give Atari here, or I can give Atari here, or if I just need to play here, I can play there. So I'm going to just kind of leave it there, and now start the fight here. So when this happens, now you can see that you lost Sente by playing the P13 and Q12 moves. So when you lose the initiative there, now your stones are getting stranded. right. So if I can make my groups link, my two white groups, the G10 and the G15 groups, if they link up, your stones die without me having to play in the middle, because I have moves like this to take away the eye shape there, or simply just this takes away your second eye. It becomes impossible to make two eyes here. So once I can connect my groups up, so now that I have this two-move exchange, I actually am pretty connected up through here, because if you try to punch your way out, we get in this situation. Anyway, it goes. Even if I have to deal with like a ko here, this would be a fine result if you had to live in Gote. I get this big wall on the outside, and now I can decimate the territory. I can fight here on the outside like this. It becomes very difficult to manage that fight. I don't think I could fight like this, but even so, I could try to create something a little more complicated, because my upper side group has the Atari at A for safety. So I'm not sure that you can fight your way out here yet. Playing like this, I'm going to so when I play like this, I'm not sure that you can I think here's where we left off. I'm not sure you can live here. I mean, obviously it's not two eyes, and I don't think just because this exists. So because I have that, there's not a way to kind of cut and resist back. So the internal group dies. And really, once that group dies, your outside is not ever so strong, because I have this Atari here. And so we're still just really looking at only a few points here. And that's all black has. And white's captured maybe 70 points along the whole left side. So going back, I think key moves, initially I probably wouldn't slide, or if I do slide, you have to make the jump. This move is kind of soft. Try not to make moves that have no effect on your opponent's groups. Okay. At least playing at e6 somewhat supports invasions on the lower side while fixing your own group. And the last thing is, going back to the very beginning, I probably would like to close the bottom side first, but also p15 is a move that you just want to forget. A knight's move up onto the 5th line is never effective. If somehow this is the direction you want to play in this. After r15, like I said, the kick, I normally don't like the kick, but in this case, you can make use of your r10 stone, and my 3 stones can be attacked. So this makes use of the r10 stone. A pincer is also what some people would find natural, but I find that the pincer is probably not the right idea. It just gives white a lot. I mean, you make a flat shape. The shape on the right side is mostly on the third line. It's nothing to be too impressed about. And white can almost ignore this pincer. White can kind of continue playing on the bottom side. I mean the left side. Because the most you can do here is cover me and make a wall, and I can make life. I can still live in this area. So, and if you do this, I might ignore it again. You know, I can go ahead and ignore it again. The stone still has a little bit of aji. Or if I ever want, I can I can jump out. I mean, it's not fun to drag out 3 stones, but, you know, if you pincer, I probably am going to ignore it and take the left side approach away. So I don't like the pincer here. It's not as severe as it looks, and the right side is still quite flat. It's not like it's a huge territory. So as much as I really hate the diagonal attachment generally from the 3/4 stone, because this group on the top side is nothing to write home about, and when white gets stronger, the invasion at A can be quite severe. So I don't like it so much, but I think in the given circumstances, probably the best answer. So I think that covers anything. Do you have any other questions? No question? All right, thanks. You can add me. Do you mind if I add this review to my YouTube channel? My YouTube channel, I'm putting up some lectures. I started it about a month ago, and I'm adding at least a video or 2 a week. So sometimes it's fun to put something like this up there. So my profile here on KGS, you can find my YouTube channel, and I have a Patreon channel. Yeah, right-click my name in the box and press View Info, and you'll find my YouTube channel, which has a lot of free lectures, and then my Patreon, where you can sign up with lessons for me from like as cheap as $10 a month. I'll give lessons 1 a month, or if you do more. So I give really inexpensive lessons to aimed right at your level. So you can sign up for lessons on my Patreon, or you can look at free lectures, and every now and then I just offered these lectures on KGS for fun. So anyway, it was fun playing. I'm sorry the server crashed in the middle of our game, but I'll see you soon, yeah?